Welcome to BoCo Summit, the Rural Broadband Technology Solutions Summit 2018. We wish to thank our sponsors for helping to create a path for fast, affordable connections. This BoCo Summit session is entitled How Halifax County Connected with Dr. Betty Adams, Executive Director with the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center. She interviews Kimley Blanks, Agricultural Marketing Director for the County of Halifax.
Appreciate the opportunity to have brought you these comments regarding the survey. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Betty Adams. Her biography in our program. Dr. Betty H. Adams has served as the Executive Director of the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center since 2009. In this capacity, she oversees the center's strategic growth and ensures agency activities are aligned with its mission and values. She is a transformational leader with nearly 3 decades of experience developing, implementing, managing, and evaluating adult learner programs. With both private and public sector executive level positions, Dr. Adams has overseen comprehensive growth and academic achievement in private, state, and community college settings. She has led the development, implementation, and management of comprehensive planning and effectiveness systems at rural and urban community colleges for the 58-institution North Carolina Community College System. An experienced leader with a proven record, Dr. Adams has led the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center in successfully developing and implementing 4 workforce training initiatives, achieving financial stability, and bringing clarity to focus to the agency's mission and brand. So at this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Adams to the lectern.
Good afternoon, everybody. So as you heard from my biography, I know nothing about broadband, but the lady to my left does. And it's interesting, we were talking about the vineyard, and Kimley works for Halifax County. She's the Director of Agricultural Marketing and Development. And it was her interaction with our agriculture, our farmers and ag business that led her to be interested and to understand how important having broadband connectivity was to Halifax County. And I want to say and commend Botetourt County for taking on this project, and you're doing all the right things. I also want to say up front, even though it says how Halifax County connected, we're still going through the process. We haven't completed our project, but we've made a lot of progress. And Kimley has been the person that has helped make this happen. So I want to begin by asking Kimley, first of all, this did not happen overnight, Kimley. This has been going on for 4 years. And walk us through just kind of a brief timeline of our project and how we got to where we are right now.
Well, I started my position in Halifax 4 years ago this month, and when I started my job, I started doing a general needs assessment for the agricultural and agribusiness community. And one of the things that kept coming up again and again is broadband, access to broadband. And at the same time I was doing this, a champion of ours on our Board of Supervisors, J.T. Davis, was working with businesses in his district and their needs on broadband. He and I spoke and said, it's interesting that we're both on the same page. And at that time, we started meeting with businesses around the county to assess and just get some one-on-one input from them regarding their needs with regards to broadband. At that time, we realized that this really is something that needs to be done. And so we went to the Board of Supervisors. They put together a broadband committee, same thing that Botetourt has done. We lucked out right after that, former Governor McAuliffe issued a needs assessment for the entire state called Are You Online? I don't know if y'all participated in that or not, but We actually used his Are You Online as our needs assessment survey. And I challenged our Board of Supervisors to really make this an issue and really step up. So we were outside of Walmart getting survey responses. The school system stepped up and had parents fill out the survey when they registered their children. We had churches step up and pass the survey out. And it showed to the state, but it showed to our local Board of Supervisors, our leaders, that our community wanted broadband. And they made it, we engaged them in this process, and they made our board understand that this is a priority to them, which helps, because then it allows the Board of Supervisors to then budget money and say, this is what you wanted, we're trying to address your needs. From there, we issued an RFP to get a private sector company to run the network and build the network. We partnered with SCS Broadband. And from there, we developed an implementation plan, and we are just at the point now where we're starting to build out the network. So in that time, it's taken us 4 years to get from me doing a general needs assessment and our board member doing the same thing to where we are today.
Right. And we really have come up with kind of a unique public-private solution. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think those that know a little bit about broadband, and I think most people, NBC, who I think is going to speak, someone here tomorrow, will acknowledge that the solution to broadband in rural areas is going to be a combination. It's not going to just be fiber, it's not just going to be wireless, et cetera. It has to be a collaboration between everyone. For us, we're lucky we had fiber built out by NBC in Halifax County, so we have the fiber infrastructure in place. And I do know that NBC does have some fiber here in Botetourt as well. And so our private sector company came in and partnered with us and came up with this plan. I think that's the only way we're going to do it, because it's the only way we can afford to do it. I think, and it's just my personal opinion, for rural communities at this point in broadband development around the country, yes, I do agree it is a utility. It should be considered a utility. It's no longer a luxury, it is a utility. But it's going to be up to the localities to build their own networks and support and fund the building out of these networks. It's just not going to be private sector coming in and financing it all. And it's not going to be the federal government coming in and financing. It's going to be up to the local citizens and their leaders to do so.
What have been the biggest challenges over this course of 4 years?
Well, one, and that's just government. Everything takes longer than you ever imagined it would. It's just been your standard challenges. You know, Halifax County, I don't know how much you know about us, but we are a very rural community. We have about the same, we just discussed this population size, but land-wise, we're the third largest county in the state, which means we are truly spread out. There's no way we could begin to fiber that county. So this is what we did, and our challenges have just been financially trying to come up with the money. We were lucky that we are in the tobacco region. We were able to get a tobacco region grant, but did not cover all. We have to match the grant. We also lucked out. It's a barrier, not a barrier. SCS Broadband is trying to build a Central Virginia network to cover, I think, 11 counties. But at the same time, they're a small company, so that's a barrier in that the fact that they're a small company cannot come in and just in 6 months build out an entire network. So that's, I guess, our financial and the fact that our partner is a smaller company. So those have been the two biggest barriers.
And so was there one event or one development that led you to feel that, you know, this is going to happen, that pushed us across the finish line?
I think it was actually the needs assessment.
Yeah.
Again, we used Are You Online, but I would love to see a copy of your needs assessment report. But I think that was it, because it's in black and white that we need it, we being the citizens and the businesses, and our leaders can actually see it in paper. This many want this, you know, this percentage has this, and you can see it in black and white versus it just being a theoretical, well, we need broadband. But truly, and he alluded to it just a moment ago, broadband's not about us just playing on the internet. That's not what it's about. I mean, that's what we do a little bit, but it is about education. It's going to be about telemedicine. It is about economic development. We're going to lose these small businesses that are going to go elsewhere. I mean, our youth coming up, technology's their life. And if we can't, and those are the entrepreneurs, they're going to be the ones that start companies, and they're going to want technology. If you can't get them access to technology, they will go where it's at. It's not going to be in a community without broadband.
So based on what we've heard today, based on what you know and your experience, what advice would you offer to the folks in Botetourt County?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm impressed how far you've come. I mean, since you're listening to things, I'm like, wow, that's very impressive. The only piece of advice I can think of is to continue on the same path. You did the right thing. You engaged the government because it's going to be those leaders that want to step up to the table. I would just say start talking to find a private sector partner. And I don't know who it would be in your region that you can start these conversations with. Can they get you access? And in Halifax County, we're lucky in one regard that we don't have the hills or mountains. We have a few hills, but not many. And that will allow our wireless plan to have broader coverage. That is going to be an issue when you get in the hills, the mountains, and the valleys, et cetera. So our plan, even though we're doing the best we can, will not give coverage to 100% of the county. We'll probably get 65, maybe 70%, but I consider that a win from having none. And we'll just have to continue to slowly build out, and it's going to require, for some residences, to come up and buy their own antenna. They don't have to buy the 150-foot tower, but they might have to buy a 25, 30-foot antenna to get, because some of them are a mile off of a major road. I mean, you're just not going to get to them with your vertical assets. So I would say just stay on the path, but find that private sector partner that you can work with instead of trying to build your own network. Let the experts
From your garage.
But let the experts come in and be your partner in this, because we've turned to SCS Broadband frequently saying, can we do this? What can be done here, et cetera? And they have the expertise. I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm a broadband expert technology. I can begin to tell you how to hook up an antenna. But I think that's the next step, is a private partner.
We have a few minutes left, and I'd like to open it up for questions. Does anybody have a question for Kimley?
Uh-oh.
Let's turn this on.
It's Arlene.
Oh, Arlene.
You talk about finding a project sector. How do you define your project sectors?
Private sector or project sector?
The project. Not the partnership. We've got some great folks that we are talking to. We have great providers, and we know that there are funds available for these partnerships between our locality and the provider. The hard part is defining that block. How do you map that out and say, this is the project we want to do? How did you physically define your projects?
Well, because we don't own, our county does not own that many vertical assets, and by vertical assets I mean 150, 200-foot towers. So we relied on our private partner to identify, I know that, I apologize, I can't think of the name of the company, that it's a company around the whole country that owns a lot of these towers. And so they know where they are, and they're leasing space on these towers. So we are, at this point, letting where those towers are located help define where our network will be. And we're lucky enough that we had someone donate 3 180-foot towers to us that we can put then in underserved areas to continue to build out the network. But again, even with those, we're not going to be able to get everybody, because it's just, like I said, we're such a large county. but we're letting our current vertical assets help us define. And again, that company does have them almost all over the county, but there are some nooks and crannies that we'll have to use or buy some more vertical assets ourselves. to
And
serve.
Kimley, did we do an RFP to select?
We had to as a local government. We issued an RFP and identified, there aren't that many that want to come, for us, to come into our type of rural area. We had two respond, and one of them was really willing to step up. And like I said, another reason we selected them is they're building a larger network. We're not standing individually. So if one of our towers goes down, the one in Pennsylvania County next door can pick up the service, and our residents don't lose service as often. Same thing, they're going all the way to Richmond. They're going, I forgot how north, Amelia maybe. So there's backhaul, there's redundancy built throughout this whole network. So we're not standalone,
Right.
which is very important when you have storms or any other damage that can happen, because you are above ground. This is not fiber that's below the ground, so.
So Arlene, I think the answer to your question is that when we did the RFP, we only had two entities to submit. They came with their ideas for how the project would be defined, and then we selected the one that we felt was the best fit. Other questions up here?
When you defined your market demand, did you also determine a price or rate where you could sell this at X dollars and what that looked like?
Our private partner, SCS Broadband, recommended what they were offering to other counties, and they were being consistent across the board, which I appreciate. They're not offering one package in one county $10 cheaper than they are another one. When I discussed broadband, I was very clear when I started working with this, and it was mentioned in the presentation earlier. We're not just looking for broadband, we're looking for affordable, high-speed broadband. And we need to be very clear about that, because in Halifax County, our median income, et cetera, they can't afford $150 a month.
What is that definition? That's kind of a hurdle we've had from a provider standpoint. Years ago when North Carolina, this is over 10 years ago, had some tobacco money, they put out the fiber. They had a 4% take rate because the price of their product was beyond what their market could.
What SCS is offering is, I think the lowest package in a residence is about $50 a month, and then obviously demand of a company is higher, and I think theirs goes up to, I think their lowest package is, I want to say $120, $130 a month, which I think is very doable for utility in a household.
Question here, Nicole?
I think you missed somebody down there. Hi, I'm Jean Plymouth from CIT. I know you've been working on your project for a good time now. I was just wondering, these projects do take a good time, good while to get implemented. How do you manage your citizen expectations, and so that, everybody wants it now, but it takes longer than that?
Well, managing expectations is a difficult factor in anything that you do. We've tried to be upfront, and we've issued press releases about every 6 months or so saying, this is what's going on. We anticipate estimated deadlines of this. Again, this is an ever-evolving project based on weather, et cetera. But we've tried to communicate on a regular basis with our residents and our business owners. Again, we had an awful past winter where we had snow, and and that put us 2 months behind. That's nothing, we can't do anything about that. So, but we do try to communicate on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I'll say as a citizen that you've done great work communicating, and I don't get a sense that people are, like, when is it going to be here? I think
No one's bad mouthing. They're just
No.
excited that we're doing something and that they're
Exactly.
going to get broadband.
Yeah. One more question.
We have
I'm Felicia Blue Thornton. I'm here from VDOT's P3 office, and I'm from South Boston, Virginia.
yay.
So shout out. I felt proud.
All right.
My town is doing good things, and I'm focused on this initiative as well across the board. So In doing a lot of extensive research just to try to figure out this broadband issue at a Commonwealth level, we've just been getting a lot of feedback from the ISPs that the ultimate problem is equity and lack of demand. So what exactly did you guys do to be able to, did you incentivize the last mile providers? What exactly did you do to get them to go to those areas that there wasn't any demand to quantify
Well,
and pay back?
we're putting up some of the money ourselves. Our county government is funding part of this.
The actual service, not the the
Oh,
network
I'm sorry,
design?
building out the network. I'm sorry, you're talking about the service itself?
Correct. So like, I feel like getting the network built out is, in my personal opinion, is kind of a simple thing if you have the backbone there. But the problem that we're running into is like, okay, how do we now get the service providers to get equity
Well,
to
yeah.
come and give the
Let
services?
me try this one, and, and Kimley, you can kick me on the table and tell me to shut up. But I get the sense that we were fortunate to attract a small, independent business owner that is growing this business, and we hit it at the right time. And so therefore, this is helping him, and it's helping us. So that's my take on it.
Well, there is a grant, I believe, and she may know more, from Virginia Department of Rural Development, I think, that will offer some assistance in a grant, and we were going to apply for that in Halifax because there is a setup cost to get the router and everything to the house. It's a one-time fee. And we were going to see if we could get the grant to cover that, so a low-income household wouldn't have to have that upfront cost to get service established, but they would have to cover the monthly fee after that.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and close out, but I want to say, you guys have already done most of what we've done. You've done your needs assessment, you have a champion, you've got your government behind you, you have a commission, and you've conducted your survey. So well done and congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we want to hear from you. Email us bocosummit@botetourtva.gov. Engage with us on our journey. We give a special thanks to our community volunteers, and special thanks goes to these organizations. Again, thank you, our sponsors, for helping us to create a path for fast, affordable connections. BoCo Summit, the Rural Broadband Technology Solutions Summit, is presented by Botetourt County of Virginia.